Hello there, my name is Gilly, and today I'm going to show you a Nether portal based XP and gold farm. I'll start off by saying that what you see behind me is slightly different to what you saw in the time lapse. So, in the time lapse, there was a sandstone floor. Changed that is because I've since built this up in survival myself, and there was a slight issue which involved zombie reinforcement mechanics. There's a small chance that with zombie pigman farms is that when you kill a zombie pigman, it will spawn an actual zombie, and then you kill the zombie, and that will spawn a load of zombie reinforcements. I have since made some slight modifications to make it a bit better spawn-proof wise. There was also a small change to the blast furnace super smelter. Very small. There was a slight problem with it that I did not pick up in testing, and only found that out when I built it up in survival and did it in survival. The main inspiration for this farm was Ilmangos' Maximum XP with Nether Portals farm. He showcased it a few months ago, and when I saw it, I thought I need to do something similar, but I wanted to make it a looting based farm because I wanted to have a lot of drops per hour. Not just that, there was also the fact that the mechanic that is used in Ilmangos' farm is going to not be available in versions higher than 1.16. So at the moment it's still there, but the developers at Mojang have said that eventually they're going to remove it. Now, what is that mechanic, you ask? Well, when you aggravate a zombie piglin, it will cause all other zombie piglins around it in I think it's about a 40 block radius, to be angry at you, and they will all chase after you at quite a high speed. And when they are killed, no matter how they could kill themselves. Literally, you can use NP cramming and kill them. That's how Ilmango did it. They will drop XP. You can do it completely AFK. You can literally just stand still, and XP will come to you, which is great if you want a fully AFK XP farm. Now, I wanted a balance between the two, so hence I've used looting. It's not as efficient drop-wise, but it's a lot more efficient XP-wise. So if you're looking for a very, very good XP-based farm, and just mainly looking for the XP, go have a look at Elmango's video. I'm going to link in the description anyway, because it's an amazing farm. You should check it out if you haven't already. Another influence was Nembom's Fun with farms, in particular his looting-based zombified piglin farm. The system he uses to kill zombified piglins, so the chamber in which you kill them, as well as the collection system, is very similar in this farm. So, I mean, they're essentially the same. It's a brilliant design. Credit goes to Nembom for that specific detail. Yeah, so the main influences with Nembom and Ilmango, I'll link those videos in the description. So let's talk about the drops of this farm. So there are 6 item drops that you can get out this farm. Technically there's 7, but I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute. So with this specific farm, the way I've designed it, it's designed to output gold nuggets, rotten flesh, gold ingots, raw and cooked chicken, depends which sword you're using. So if you're using a Fire Aspect 2 sword, you're going to get only roast chicken. If you don't use a Fire Aspect 2 sword, or sorry, just Fire Aspect in general, you're going to get a raw chicken. And then you always get feathers. I'll explain why you get chickens in a bit if you don't already know why. Since this farm is a looting based farm, it increases the amount of items you get for each one. So usually a zombified piglin, so if it dies in general, you don't kill it or anything like that, then it will always drop 0 to 1 rotten flesh and or 0 to 1 gold nuggets. So if you were to kill them without looting, that's still the same. For every looting enchantment, it increases that by 1. So as in the maximum is increased by 1. So these are always dropped by zombified piglins. When a player kills them or a tame wolf kills them, it then means you can get an additional item, which is gold ingots. So there is a 2.5% chance to drop a gold ingot if killed by a player or the tamed wolf, and that chance is increased by 1% per level of looting. There is also an 8.5% chance to drop a golden sword. Those can be smelted down into gold nuggets, so you get quite a lot of golden swords actually. So yes, let's talk about why I'm storing chicken, roast chicken, and feathers in the farm. Well, the short answer is chicken jockeys. So what is a chicken jockey? Well, essentially, it's a chicken that's being ridden by a baby zombified piglin. The chances of that happening is quite rare, so the chance that you have a baby zombified piglin spawning is 5%. The chance that a baby zombified piglin spawns as a chicken jockey is 5%. You have 5% chance for a baby, and then you have another 5% chance, if that is a baby, to then be a chicken jockey. So it's quite a small chance. With a farm as large as this, I mean, there's a lot spawning per second, or per minute even. You're gonna get quite a fair few chicken jockeys. So yeah, so that's why we've got the chickens in storage. And if you really wanted to, you could just not store it. But the other reason I've gone out my way to store this sort of stuff is because I have implemented a system in which I use blast furnace over there to smelt down the golden swords into gold nuggets. Let's now talk about the actual rates of each of those drops. This farm produces more gold nuggets than all the others, and that is here as follows. The amount of gold nuggets I dropped purely from killing the zombified piglins is 21,094.9 per hour. When you smack down the swords, you get an additional nugget per sword. When you do that, you have 22,361.6, so a small increase of just over 1,000 swords per hour. You may think, is 1,000 nuggets really worth it? Well, it's an extra 111-ish, or just over 100 gold ingots power, and that's just a stack and a bit. So yeah, that's the gold nuggets. Now the rotten flesh. So the rotten flesh is the second most produced item in this farm. You may be thinking, Gilly, why would you want to, why would you want rotten flesh? It's good for cleric trades. So clerics can sell you redstone and lapis. Now for the gold ingots. So these will be the most sought out drop from this farm. I've put two statistics here. I've put the ones produced, so that's the ones that are produced when you kill a zombified piglin, and it is 583.7 power. I don't believe that's not even a shulker box of gold ingots power, and I have set the system up such that these are all shulker boxes. So here they shouldn't be. Yeah, I've not I've taken those out since, but here you can see there's a lot of rotten flesh in all these shulker boxes. So I've designed for that because it, 27,000, you need a lot of storage for that. If you didn't want to do this with shulker boxes, you could have lots of chests, but yeah, again, you're going to have a massive amount of space for that. So the gold ingots, I have done it as a shulker box based system. So I've been testing it on my server at the moment, and I still haven't actually got a shulker box produced in the system itself. But I have since crafted quite a lot of bits down into ingots, and that is where the true amount of gold ingots power comes from. We've crafted, which is, all of this, and this is the statistic including with the swords, so crafting all of those down, on additional to those produced, you get 3,068.32 per hour. That's nearly 2 shulker boxes of gold ingots power, so that's really, really good, especially if you want to use these gold ingots to barter with piglins. You can also use them in crafting powered rails, for example. So yeah, so those are the main drops, and then the chickens stuff, you don't get a lot of those power. That's why barrels have been used, because you're not expected to fill up the system that quickly. So here we've got 54 power for roast chicken. No, that's not roast, that is raw, for raw chicken. So I've said here it's produced if you're not using a fire aspect sword, which is true. If you use a fire aspect sword, you're going to end up killing them and end up cooking the chickens. With a fire aspect sword, it basically means you're going to end up cooking them, hence why you got the roast chicken. It takes into account both possibilities. So if you're on a multiplayer server, for example, and you have people using fire aspect swords, when they come and use the farm for the XP to mend the tools, they don't have to worry about changing swords just so that it doesn't break the system. And sometimes you can end up having both. When you have sweeping edge on your sword, I don't think it necessarily cooks the chicken, so you may end up finding that you get both produced. You should expect about 54 power for both of those. Now for the feathers, it's a little bit higher than the chicken. It's 55 power. You can use that to, well, craft. I can't remember when you use feathers to craft. And oh wait, arrows. You use them for arrows. Oh, and a book and quill. So the least useful stuff is on this side, and the more useful stuff is on this side. So in the time lapse, you've already seen me use the farm. I'm just going to show you all of the specific elements now. So let's start off with the actual killing chamber. In here is where you will kill all the zombie piglins. The zombified piglins, they fall down here, and you stand on this gold block here, and you slash your sword away. I've done it such that there is a chest for anvils if you run out of anvils. So, I mean, if you have an iron farm, you can easily get this amount of anvils. There's also a grindstone if you want to disenchant items, for example. So if you use tools that you buy from villagers, you may not necessarily want the enchantments that are given on those tools, so you will want to disenchant them. There's also a chest here for the snowballs, and this is very important. You saw in the time lapse that was used to hit this zombified piglin here, and he will then anger. He will start off the anger of all the zombified piglins, and they'll fall down into here. There's also chests for the swords, so if you want to get yourself a sword, then you can. So this is the perfect sword for this farm. This is what it's been designed for. It is a Smite 5 sword. Smite 5 is the maximum Smite enchantment, and Smite provides more damage against undead mobs, and the zombified piglin is designated as a undead mob. There's also breaking on there and mending. Then there's looting free, which is the most important enchantment for this specific farm, and sweeping edge is also useful to kill the zombified piglins quicker. So that's the enchantment you need. How do you actually turn this farm on? So the system's here. So you got this note block, and you click it, and all the floors get moved. Now, if I just turn it off and show you the actual floors itself. So apologies for the FPS drop because I'm recording. So you can see here that we have this floor, retractable floor, basically for using flying machines. And every time you turn it on and off, it will then move it forward or move it away. So when the light's off, this is the configuration. So it's the same around all 4 sides. And when the farm is on, and this is what you have. So the hay bales are pushed forward. Now you might be wondering why hay bales? Because it will cushions the fall of the zombified piglins as they fall down. So when they fall down, they won't hurt themselves as much. So if I go to the very top, let's try it. Boom. See, I didn't die. I lost quite a few hearts, but I didn't die. The zombified piglins will be the same. Now, if you do die, I honestly have no idea how to prevent that. It might just be a slight flaw with the amount of piglins coming down into this area. So yeah, so that's the moving flaw. So basically, the problem is with this farm is that the Nether portals, it's going to be independent of the mobcap. So by that I mean the zombified piglins will keep spawning even if the mobcap's filled. So if I just show you the mobcap, you see there that the one on the left, the red number, that is the amount of hostile mobs in the world. Now, the reason it's 0 at the moment is because I've turned it mob spawning off, and also the zombified piglins have name tags on them. Got a zombie boy and an additional 4 zombie boys on these two ends here. When this farm is on and you have the floors in place, that number's just going to keep increasing. There we go. Show you them falling down. You see that number's already increasing, and the maximum for one player is 70, but this is going to increase above 70, and this makes it useful for. You can see over there, one of them died, like I said. Anyway, eventually it will get above 70. There we go. It's going to keep increasing. Now the problem with that is, eventually it's going to get so high that your computer or your server is going to crash, and because there's going to be so many entities in the world. So the way you do this is you turn the farm off, and they will fall down here, and they get killed by the cactuses that are there. You can see here that they just keep falling down, and they're falling into the cactuses, and that's where they get killed. Some of them end up dying immediately because they fall from the highest ones, whereas with the lowest layer, they won't fall and hurt themselves just from complete fall damage. They will need to be killed manually with the cactuses. Now, this is to make sure that there's not too many mobs in the world, and consistently the mob cap will stay below 70, and it will fluctuate between 50 and 60. Now, you're probably wondering why this sort of weird shape. Well, it's not just for sort of like decorational purposes. It's actually to stop baby zombified piglins escaping the system and not dying. Occasionally, you will not get them all killed. Some that end up staying lurking in the system, but really they'll despawn after a while. Good thing with cactuses is that it not only damages mobs, it also destroys any drops they produce. Now I'll talk about the actual shifting floor mechanism. You hit this note block here, which then sends out an update to this observer, which then powers this block, which powers this note block, and this note block is then observed by this observer here, which then powers this rail here. Because this then changes state, it changes from unpowered to powered. This observer then detects that and then sends a signal to the piston, which then shoots at the redstone. The other use for the note block is to allow this sort of junction here. All 3 observers here see when the note block state is changed. Each one sends out a signal along these rail lines here. Observer sees that the signals come in, it then updates this note block, which is then observed by these 2 observers. And the reason we have 2 sort of lines here is that we could have like here, the floor out. So this observer here needs to be able to allow this trapdoor to be powered to send it off and push the floor in. And then the same is true for the case where we want to bring the floor back out. This observer here will be under this trapdoor here. So that's the same on all 4 sides. So how do the zombie piglins actually get into the farm itself? What we do is use the turtle egg mechanic. So what dead mobs will do is they will try and pathfind to a turtle egg and crush it. Well, they'll basically trample on it. So if I was to go on top of this turtle egg, so let me just get it before I do this. So if I go on top of it, eventually it will crack and break. So if I keep breaking that, there, see, it's done that. That's essentially what the undead mobs will do. And because zombified piglins are undead mobs, they will pathfind to it and try and trample on them. Now, when they pathfind to these trapdoors here, and they consider these trapdoors to be closed, so they just consider this to be floor, so they can pathfind to here, and they will move over them and fall down and into the system. And we have this sort of layout on all 4 layers. So glass block here with turtle egg, so that these piglins over here will fall into the system, and same for all the other 2. So if I just put the game rule on to allow mob spawning, they should start coming in. There we go. There's one of them, and there's another. Yep, there's a few here. You can see they are pathfinding to the turtle eggs. So I'm now going to talk about the killing chamber, and the killing chamber itself is not very complicated at all. You just got some trapdoors here that prevent the zombified piglins getting to you, as well as the baby zombified piglins. Those are a massive problem, of course. You can see there's walls here, which are used to allow them to easily fit in here. And not get cramped at the very top. So if I just go into spectator mode, they will not get cramped here. And you can see they'll pathfind over here. See the trapdoors, they'll see it as open, then they'll fall down, land on the honey, and they'll be trapped there for you to swing at. Now you might be thinking, why are the ender chests here? So the ender chests here are there's two reasons why the ender chests are there. One is that they don't have a full hitbox, which means that the items that fall on top of them can be picked up by hoppers, which are right below. And that's the same for the honey. The reason the honey is used is because it is not a full block, and the hoppers can pick up the items on top of the honey blocks. The honey also prevents the zombified piglins from jumping about too much. Now I've found that with the zombified piglins, the baby zombified piglins, they still are able to jump a little bit, especially the chicken jockeys. They'll sometimes still get at you, unfortunately. But if you kill them quick enough, and you just here with like saying, if you had an auto script which allow you just to swipe your sword every second here whilst keeping your screen central. I mean, if you use the F3 T trick whilst swinging your sword, it will just make Minecraft think you're still swinging, even though you've taken your hand away from the mouse button after you've clicked F3T. If you want to look into that trick, just do a simple Google search for F3T trick in Minecraft. The ender chests, actually, I've said there was two reasons. There's actually a third reason. And the third reason is that ender chests are like lower down. They have a smaller hitbox than honey themselves. So you can see here, honey has a smaller hitbox than a full block, but the ender chest, you can clearly see there's a few more pixels below that than the honey. And what that allows is the XP to flow down to you really easily. So there's no XP trapped. It will all flow down onto here and meet you here. The soul sand over there is just, again, another block that's not a full block, so that the hoppers that appear down here, the hoppers that are down here can pick up the items if they were to slightly fall on here. So only a few items ever make it onto the soul sand blocks themselves. So this killing system here is the same as Nem-Bombs. Credit goes to him for this specific design. Similar to Nem-Bombs is this hopper minecart system here. So essentially what we got is 3 hopper minecarts here that pick up the items in these hoppers here. So this hopper will pick up the items in this hopper, this hopper minecart will pick up the items in this hopper, and this hopper minecart will pick up the items in this hopper. And then these are positioned such that they are across these 2 blocks here. So, at least this one is anyway. This one is positioned such that its hitboxes inside this one and that one, which means that the hopper minecarts here and here will be able to pick up the items in and out of here, which makes it very, very quick. So the items coming out of here, into here are as quick as it is, and then it goes down to here even quicker because these are then taking those items out. And the same is true for this one. It's going into this and that one, and this one is going into that one. So yeah, so here it's going to be ever so slightly slower, just because of the fact that one of these hoppers is taking the items even quicker. So that's a slight discrepancy here. However, items never get stuck in here, so it's quick enough. Yeah, so these hopper minecarts themselves are then across 2 other hoppers, so then the items get distributed into these hoppers at double hopper speed. And then it goes into the dropper here at double hopper speed, and then signal inside the dropper is read by the comparator, which then sends a signal to this piston here. So there's a repeater on 4 ticks there, and then the observers here just create a 1 tick clock, which then powers the droppers, and the droppers then will dispense the items. So the cobwebs here allow the items that come out of the droppers to stack up more, so that there are less item entities in the world. So one, that will create too much lag as well if you have too many item entities, and 2, it allows them to be picked up more easily by the hoppers in the storage system. When they're dispensed and they do finally fall through the cobwebs, they will come into this water stream here and be aligned along this chest here. So this chest has a slightly smaller hitbox as well, which allows it to be aligned such that it's inside the water and on these blocks here. So it'll be along this line and along the water stream. Now, this specific way of doing it, I saw in one of Ilmangos' videos on double hopper speed item sorters, and I've also used a load of double hopper speed item sorters here as well. So this one, this one, this one, this one. I think all of them up to, yes. So all these with the hoppers facing down are double hopper speed item sorters, are just the standard item sorters, single hopper speed. This one's gold. I think there's 4. Yep, there's 4 for gold, and then 4 for rotten flesh, and then 2 for gold ingots, and then these ones here are just the chickens, feathers, and the last 2 are feathers. Okay, so the number of sorters here has been chosen based on how quick these hoppers can take in the items as they're flowing in. It filters all the items out except for the golden swords. They don't get pushed into these items, which is the whole point of this, really, other than just sorting out the items. It was also to filter them out from the golden swords. And then when it gets to here, the golden swords will then align themselves along this chest here and go into these hoppers here. Now, the reason there's 3 is because if this chest becomes full, for example, then there's at least a little bit of leeway in where they can go. And if it overflows, the golden swords fall onto this cactus here and get destroyed. So where are the items actually being stored? Well, we're using these shulker box loading systems for the gold nuggets and the rotten flesh, and then here is another shulker box loader for the gold ingots. These two here are designed by Jcraft. It's a ×4 hopper speed shulker box loader. It's really good. So definitely check out the video if you want to learn more about this and build it for yourself. Then there's this double hopper speed shulker box loader, which is for the gold ingots, and this is a design by Samus the Sage. I'll link that in the description as well as Jcraft's. Both very good designs. I'd highly recommend checking those out. That brings us on to the final part of the farm, which is the blast furnace super smelter. 25 blast furnaces. You can't use normal furnaces, you have to use blast furnaces. And what we've got here is basically 5 arrays of the same system. So this is one slice, one array of blast furnaces. Now it's 5 because the hopper minecart can only store 5 golden swords at a time. So 5 is the maximum it can distribute to these blast furnaces. When this block retracts, it's going to allow the hopper minecart to go on its way, and every time it goes over a hopper, it will then drop exactly 1 golden sword into the blast furnace, and that will then be smelted down and sent into the system here, which will then dispense the items into these water streams, and the water streams then collect down to here, emerge up here, go over here, go on the soul sand, go up the bubble column, and back down here, all the way into the system, and then can get stored. The reason we have 5 of these is so that we can collect the gold swords here, so you get quite a lot of golden swords coming into the system. So here they'll fill up in the chest here, which will then be loaded into this hopper, and the hopper, when it's full, will go along here, and every time it goes over this hopper, it will then drop out a golden sword, which is then, picked up by the minecart hopper there, and it's the same for all 5 of these arrays. That way we can quickly pick up the items that get into the chest, so that we are less unlikely for the system to turn itself off. So this circuit here turns the furnace off essentially, or it just stops these actual item hoppers from actually picking up the items when this chest here is full. So there is a comparator here, which when it sees the chest is full, or all the items are completely full up, so when there's all the golden swords are filled up there, it will automatically turn off the system by extending this redstone block, and it will then power the pistons that are here and here, which will push these redstone blocks into the hoppers, which powers the hoppers, which locks them, and they will not be able to pick them up. And so any item that comes past here, so in theory it should always only be golden swords, they will come along here and then get destroyed by this cactus. There is also a system to put the actual fuel in. I've said here, put only 150 stacks of coal, because that's all that's needed. Here we have hoppers going into the blast furnace, and this is the fuel input. There's essentially 5 stacks available to be stored in the hopper, as well as a stack inside the furnace. So that's the final bit of the sort of more complicated bits, and there's 2 other bits I just need to talk about quickly. The first is the fact of why are there beacons? The beacons are here to prevent you from dying from starvation. I just use regeneration beacons. So here is a full beacon. Regeneration is a secondary power, so you need a full beacon for it. But it also requires a primary power, so I've used strength here. You could use any of them if you really wanted to, but the one that makes the most sense for me anyway is strength. So yeah, the final bit is a crafting system. So this is used to craft the nuggets into ingots, and then you could also use it to craft the ingots into gold blocks. This is Ilmangos Reliable Shulker Box crafting system. Go check out that video if you want to see more details of it and how to build it. So that's everything to this farm. If there's anything I've missed, please let me know. I believe I've covered everything. If I've not explained anything that well, please also let me know, and I will try and clear that up down below in the comments. If you would like to explore this world yourself, look down in the description. There is a world download link. If you find any improvements to this farm, please let me know. It would be greatly appreciated. Collaboration is key in the technical community. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing if you'd like to see more videos like this. I plan on doing at least 1 video a week, and I shall see you next time. Bye bye.